video, we speak with Kevin McCaffrey, a singer, songwriter, teacher living in Cali, Colombia, and we discuss him being drugged by scopolamine, also known as the devil's breath. The interview will start discussing his background and how he ended up in Cali, Colombia. But at the 15-minute mark is where we're going to discuss the scopolamine poisoning. Follow along.
Traveling to Colombia? You've come to the right channel.
Okay, so good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever it is you're located, and thanks for watching. Today is a special day because I told you I was going to have an interview with somebody that had a run-in with scopolamine, also known as the devil's breath. So I want to jump right in with Kevin McCaffrey. Kevin, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Rob. Thanks very much for having me on the show. Things are great here in sunny Cali, Colombia.
Yes, you are in Colombia. So here's the thing. Well, first of all, let me back up a second. I noticed an accent. So where are you from originally?
Oh yeah, we've obviously got an accent. You know, I'm from a small part of Northern Ireland called Portadown, or the county is Armagh. But I mean, I left home when I was 18, so 17 years I've been away. I lived in Manchester in England. I lived in Seville in Spain for a year, and now I've been in Cali, Colombia the last 11 years. So you can see I haven't lost the accent, of course.
Yeah, 11 years. That's a long time. So what made you move there originally?
Well, I always loved languages, and Spanish in particular. At school, that was the thing. Apart from sort of sports and literature, things like that, I just loved languages. So I studied. At one point, I was studying Spanish, French, and Irish, and I just fell in love with the Spanish language, the Spanish culture. So that's, I'd say, where this journey starts of how I ended up in Cali. So I actually went to university and I studied Spanish. And while I was studying my degree, which was, in Spanish studies with cinema also, so all combined, a combined honors type degree. And I did my 1 year abroad. In Europe, they have this fantastic program called Erasmus, that if you're part of the European Union, you go and you spend a year studying in the country, and you get a we would call it a grant. What would you call that in the USA? Some sort of economic support.
Okay. If it's paid for, a grant, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Basically like a grant. So I spent an amazing year in Seville, got back to finish my degree in Manchester in England, and I wasn't really sure. I thought that I wanted to actually go back to Spain, and then it was just one of those moments that I guess has changed my life forever. I just remember seeing a notice. Would you like to teach English in Latin America? And I said that sounds really interesting. Why not just apply anyway? At that point, I was not. Oh my God, I really want to do this. But I thought I may as well just have a go, because at that stage I had so many. I was very indecisive about what I wanted to do, really. Mm-hmm. So, I went through all of the process, passed the first round of the interview, and I had to select which country, or choose 3 countries, and my number 1 was Colombia, second was Chile, I think, and then third was Ecuador. I'd say if all of the countries were available in Latin America, possibly I would have gone Argentina, maybe even Mexico, but they were only for 3 months. I wanted to go there for a year, so I came over here initially for a course. Sorry, an exchange. It's this thing that they have between, universities and schools in England and in Colombia. Mm-hmm. And because I was studying there, the way it works is people come here and teach English in all the different, cities all over Colombia. Mm-hmm. In my case, of course, I came here to teach in Cali. And I worked at, the big public university here called La Universidad del Valle. And so that's initially how I ended up here. Just, I wanted to come, get to know a new culture, travel around Latin America. My dream before coming, 2 places I always wanted to visit were the Amazon and the Galapagos Islands.
Oh yeah.
And so I've been to both. I've been to the Amazon 6 times, in fact, and I've been to the Galapagos. So I have very, very luckily, very fortunate to have realized my dreams. And yeah, I was only meant to be here for a year, and now it's 11 years. I've been working at a bilingual school for the last 10 years. And also, I'm a musician as well. So obviously the teaching keeps me going on the side until I become a famous rock and roll star. But
Yeah.
that's essentially how I ended up here in Colombia.
So a couple of questions I was going to ask you, because you're in Cali, but I know the issue that you had with scopolamine was in Cartagena, if I'm not mistaken. So you have been around to a few cities. So what other cities have you been to? And then you're a musician. So what type of music, and how can my guys take a listen to it? If you have a link to a single, we'll make sure it's below in the description.
Okay, great, Rob. So first question you asked me there, so what places I've been to in Colombia? So very fortunately, being a teacher, and even being a musician, I guess, I have that freedom to be, I get great holidays. There's times, I get 4 or 5 weeks off, almost even 6 weeks, get Easter off, Christmas, etc., etc. So because of my holidays, I'm very fortunate that I have been able to travel all around Colombia. It is if you haven't been to Colombia, guys, I would 100% really, really recommend you do so. There's so many incredible places, right? I've been, so if we go from the very north, that's there, the most north would be the Caribbean, right? So they have these 2 islands called San Andres and Providencia. Absolutely stunning, Caribbean island. It's very, very different to Colombia, even though it's part of Colombia. It's more sort of Afro-based, almost Jamaica type. There's a lot of sort of reggae culture. Of course, it's mixed in with Colombian culture, but you don't really feel like you're in Colombia. Exactly. Whereas if you go to the Caribbean coast, let's say Cartagena or somewhere like that, then it's very, very Colombia, because the music that you're going to hear mostly is going to be things such as vallenato and things like that. So I've been to those islands. Then along the north coast, then I've been from La Guajira, which is in the very top east. It's the most northeastern part of South America. So I've been there, La Guajira, this region. Then I've been to Santa Marta, I've been to Cartagena, Barranquilla. There's this other really, really fascinating place that's on the border between Panama and Colombia called, what's it called? Capurganá and Sabsurro. Really, really beautiful place there as well. The beaches are really fantastic. So that's all along the coast. Then from there, I've also been to places. If you like mountains and extreme sports, Santander is incredible. You can do there things such as, paragliding, which I did, mountain biking, things like that. I think you can even do rafting and stuff. So San Gil, I'd really recommend there. Then near close to Bogota, then there's some really beautiful places. You have Bogota itself. It's not, you're not going to go there for the weather, but artistically, museums and things like that, there's loads going on in Bogota. A lot of Colombians don't really like Bogota. I personally really, really enjoyed Bogota. I've been there many times. Great nightlife, fantastic nightlife. So I've been to Bogota, and there's places around there. Villa de Leyva, this really colonial, I think, if I'm not mistaken, there's this type of stone that they have. It's the oldest cobbled or the biggest, or whatever, the largest cobbled square in Latin America. Incredible. So well kept, very, great restaurants and places to eat and things like that, as well as the architecture is stunning. So Villa de Leyva, been to around there.
You've been everywhere.
Yeah, no, I've been here 11 years, obviously. Then, as we were just discussing, you lived in Medellin for a bit, so I've been to Medellin and the coffee region, been all around there. Again, that part is really incredible for mountains. Medellin, I would say, is arguably the best. It's almost like a combination of Cali and Bogota, because it's in between. It's got the perfect weather, I would say. It's got a bit more culture than Cali, but then it's not as big as Bogota. It's not as crazy. Bogota, the traffic is absolutely incredible. So I've been all the places around there, Medellin and Manizales, Pereira, places like I've been to a few places on the Pacific coast, been to the beach a number of times. And then as far south I've been to the Amazon and Amazon. I've been 6 times. I love the Amazon. And obviously Cali and places around here. I would certainly, 100%, as well as recommending Colombia, Cali as well. Cali is, it's maybe doesn't have as much to offer in terms of culture and art and architecture and things like that as maybe Medellin and Bogota would. But in terms of the people here, I love the Caleños. You know, they're just the most amazingly friendly people. Anywhere I've been in Latin America, I still find that Caleños are the most friendly people. So yeah, you know, here and as well, it's very green. You know, I love cycling, for example, and there's incredible places to cycle, not just to cycle, but just visiting up in the mountains and stuff like that. A lot of nature, rivers and things like that are around Cali. The city's quite congested, but still there's a lot of beautiful parks and places to walk around. Down by the boulevard, San Antonio, the sort of colonial area. Loads to do in Cali as well. And it's the salsa capital. If you like dancing, not just salsa, but if you like dancing and you want to learn how to dance, Cali is the place to come in Colombia. And there's actually quite a big number of tourists that come to Cali specifically to learn how to dance salsa and merengue and bachata and these sort of, tropical dances.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. So then, and you do music.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So and in terms of my music, right? I mean, I have been writing music really since I was 18 and playing guitar. So basically, interestingly enough, it was only until when I got to Colombia was whenever I really started to get into music more. Having, I was in a band for basically 9 years before I started working, as a solo artist, which I've been doing the last 12 months, focusing on my own solo project, getting my music out there. But 2020, a lot of people, it was such a tough year. On a personal level, I have to say I'm really, really lucky because I think it gave me a lot of focus on my music. Mm-hmm. I wrote more songs than I've ever written in a 12-month period. I released my first 2 videos and singles. The first one, Confessions, you can check out on YouTube. That was a massive hit. My first one got way over 50,000 views. For some.
Okay, so make sure I get the links to each one of these, and I'll leave it below.
100% I will. So yeah, I released Confessions, my debut single in May of last year. Followed it up then so that one was already recorded before lockdown. But then I recorded another music video, the second of the follow-up single, which was Getting Out of Jail. And that, filming a music video during lockdown, that was, a lot of people said, how are you going to be able to do that? How are you going to be able to film a music video in lockdown, all the restrictions? But we did it, and we did an absolutely fantastic production. Wow. I was really, really, really proud. I personally preferred the production, certainly, of the second song, Getting Out of Jail, than Confessions, even though Confessions was a lot better received, which was a surprise to me, because I think Getting Out of Jail is a better song. So I've just released as well my latest single called Procrastination. I released that 2 weeks ago. You can find the other 2 previous singles also. So Confessions, Getting Out of Jail, and also Procrastination. You can find on all the digital platforms, whatever you use, Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, blah, blah, all of those. You can find the music. I'm going to be dropping my next single in the next few weeks as well. So yeah, but the lockdown really, really helped me focus on my music, I have to say. And obviously the dream is one day to only focus on my music and this to be my job. But obviously I'm totally fine. I still love teaching, and that's another really important aspect of my life. So at the minute I'm combining both, but it's been really, really positive the last sort of 8 to 10 months with my music. I'm really, really happy with the successes so far.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing it and seeing what type of music and so on. I've just started producing music myself. I actually.
Oh, right. I didn't know that. I didn't know what music do you play yourself?
Well, I don't play music. It's just beats. I create it, but okay. I have enough beats and instruments electronically to create my own. I did my first reggae one, and I sent it off to Europe to have it arranged, and I just got it back a few days ago. So I'm listening to what you're saying about the video. I want to debut the song probably after this one. I'll add it to the end of one of my videos.
Brilliant, man. Well, that's definitely obviously at the end of the conversation or whatever, and we get a chance later. I'd love to hear some of your music as well. So my music is basically, I mean, I play, quite a variety of different styles, but I'd say Well, it's mostly sort of rock and blues, I would say. But I play a bit of folk music, with sort of Irish sounds, definitely in there as well. But I've even written reggae songs before. I had a go anyway, like yourself. Reggae songs, punk music. I've tried and experiment, and I don't try and just stick to one particular genre. But really, for me, it's all about the message for me and the energy. My music is very, very biographical, and I try to be as uplifting as possible and try and get people to reflect and make positive changes in their lives. That's generally what my objective is through my music.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, well, let's do this. Let's just jump into the reason we're all here, because everybody wants to know what happened with the scopolamine, how not to have it happen to them. But I saw your story and very articulate. You put it together well. You explained exactly what happened. And I think other people need to go. I'm not hearing that much advice for people, how to avoid it, how not to put yourself in that position. I had a discussion with a restaurant owner who's in Colombia, in Medellin, Colombia, last week when he was here in Houston. And he says, you're basically, it's nothing you can do yourself. Once you choose that person, she's got you. When she says, hey, can a friend of mine come over? And I said, that's the exact same thing I saw in your story. And that was
exactly. Okay.
So
yeah, Mom, yeah, we'll get to there exactly how it happened. But yeah, just to sort of set the scene and give people background
okay.
to, so I was on holiday at the start of October. It was a midterm break here in Colombia, and obviously during lockdown hadn't left Cali, in fact. I just really, really wanted to go to the beach. As a musician, I was like, okay, I'm going to go to the beach, going to bring my guitar, going to write some music. I also had this idea of doing an Instagram live on the city walls of Cartagena. That was my whole idea. I had everything planned out. I was really, really excited to be getting out of Cali. I even was doing a video blog as well on Instagram stories, which going there as well, I think it really made me, encouraged me that I think that's something I want to do in the future when obviously restrictions are lifted, to not just do music videos and things like that on YouTube, but also travel blogs and things like that. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so yeah, I went there and I was meeting up with another one of my friends from Ireland. He was already there with his girlfriend. We were staying in Boca Grande is the area that we were staying in, and which is just by the beach, really. But unfortunately, I got there. I remember my friend didn't even tell me there were all these restrictions. You couldn't even be, you couldn't just chill on the beach. There was only one real beach where you could go to. There was only a couple of them. But nonetheless, really glad to be there. The first day we went to the beach, had a lovely day. Cartagena, especially the historic center, absolutely stunning. Among the best architecture you'll get in Colombia, and possibly even around Latin America. There's not too many more beautiful places that you'll visit in terms of colonial Spanish architecture. And as well as that, there's lots of sort of street art, places to eat, have a beer. It's a great place to go and travel. But of course, you always need to be wary, and we'll get there in a few moments, and I'll explain why. But anyway, so I've been to Cartagena already 4 or 5 times before. I think it's 5 times before. Yeah, so I know the city well. So the first day, I just chill out with a friend. The next day, then, the second night, I was with my friend in the historic center, and we were just sitting down outside, just having a drink. This was about 9 p.m. And we just got approached by a couple of girls, and they started talking to us. And things were fine. Just having a chat, and then talking about a few minutes. And then one of the girls said before leaving, how long are you in Cartagena for? Do you want to meet up? And I said, well, my friend's leaving. He's going back to Cali tomorrow, but I'm going to be here for another few days. So sure, yeah, let's meet up. So I gave the girl my number, and that was pretty much it. We said goodnight, let's say goodnight. I stayed with my friend probably another 15 to 20 minutes, and then we just went back to the hotel. We're quite tired. We've been to the beach as well, that day. We're quite tired. And so, yeah, my friend had gone back to Cali. The next day, then I went to the beach with my guitar. Was loving life. Start doing a bit of writing, doing some recording of videos on the beach. And then, this girl messaged me at about, must have been around lunchtime. It wasn't at lunchtime. I remember actually sitting down having my lunch, and I got a message. And the girl just was small talk, what are you up to, blah, blah, blah. And she said, okay, well, do you want to meet up later on? She said to me, and I said, okay, no problem. I'm free. But obviously I know anywhere in Colombia and different parts of the world, if you meet someone, you should always be a bit wary if you don't know them. Mm-hmm. And for that reason, I said, okay, let's meet at my hotel. I asked her to give me her details as well. I said, okay, let's meet at my hotel. I was staying now in the historic center. I wasn't by the beach. I was in the historic center in a place called Getsemani. Getsemani is just basically 5 or 10 minutes from the actual city center where the clock is. Mm-hmm. And so we arranged to meet up at 6 o'clock later that evening. So the idea was just, have some food and whatever, grab a drink and then go for a walk. That was the general idea of what we were going to do that night, just take a walk around the historic center. So she gets to the hotel, 6 p.m. and they wouldn't let her into the hotel because, okay, in Colombia, you need to have here an ID card. We call it here a cédula. Mm-hmm. Now, she only had her provisional one. You have a provisional one if you lose one or you're waiting on a new one or whatever. So they wouldn't let her in with that because that's, during the COVID times, they're a lot more sort of strict with, things like that. Mm-hmm. So I said, look, don't worry about it. Let's just we'll take a walk now then, rather than sitting around the hotel. So we walked to the center of Cartagena, the most popular tourist destination, totally, open. You're outside the city clock. This is about 6:30 p.m. now. We sat down, started chatting. At this stage, I had no real reason to suspect anything. I was still keeping my wits about me because you always have to be careful. But at this stage, there was nothing through the messages I was given. And the fact that she sent me her details, blah, blah, blah. The only thing obviously would have got my attention, but I was a bit sort of, okay, so why should I have her ID card? But again, it wasn't anything to sort of say, abort mission, you need to leave. It wasn't that crazy. Yeah. So we were sitting down there at 6:30. We asked for I got us a couple of drinks from the street vendor. Was talking about 5 or 10 minutes, and she said, okay, look, I've got a friend. I just recognize one of my friends over there. Do you mind if she comes and says hello? I said, no problem at all, of course not. So her friend comes and sits down with the two of us. And we're just chatting. And then literally, after about 5 minutes, I don't remember anything. Literally, we were just sitting down here, as I said, broad daylight, middle of a public place. And the next thing I remember was regaining my consciousness, or what I can remember anyway. I was in a taxi, had no idea, no clue how I'd gotten there. I was in a taxi, on the way back to the hotel.
That same night?
The same night, yeah. So this is the same night. At the time, I didn't actually know exactly what time it was. Later, I found out that it was, we're talking here 11:30 p.m., almost midnight.
Okay. So
we're talking here between 4 or 5 hours where I have literally no idea what happened. Only thing I remember was getting back to the hotel. I sort of vaguely remember, opening my eyes or just being in this hotel. And we eventually get to my hotel in Getsemani. And all I remember was the taxi driver there. He was agitated. He's like, look, this guy, he's been drugged. He doesn't know where he is. I mean, I've been taking him around the place, but look, he needs to pay me. There's no, please, can you pay me? So at this stage, I was starting to sort of regain a sense of who I was and where I was, et cetera, et cetera. So I realized at this point, I didn't have any, anything on me, but I went upstairs to my hotel. So I didn't take everything out. I still had a little bit of cash, didn't have my credit card on me. So I went down, I went and got the little bit of cash that I had in my room, paid the taxi driver, and then gingerly, very, very disorientated, sort of feeling very nauseous, I just basically, fell asleep on my bed, and that was it. Woke up the next morning then, and still very hazy, very sort of groggy, feeling a little bit sort of sick. And then basically, I realized that I don't have my phone, don't have my wallet. And obviously I realized that I've been robbed, right? So I was like, oh shit, not great, not a great way to start the day. So I went down to the reception and explained what had happened. And the hotel were absolutely fantastic, to be honest. You know, they were great. And so they didn't even have a communal computer, but they let me go on my computer, on the hotel computer, basically. So I went and checked my online banking, and there's all these transactions. I was like, oh no, I've been well done here. And so I went out. So I left my credit card at home, but I went out with my debit card. So that's obviously where the transactions have been done. And at this point, though, I thought that I had 40 million pesos in my account. So I thought at this point, because as I said, I was still half asleep, more or less, you know, very groggy. I thought that I'd been robbed of 20 million pesos, which would be around 5,000, a bit more than 5,000 US. So immediately called the bank, cancelled my card, and then obviously I need to go. At that point, I was totally calm about it as well. At this stage, I wasn't really, you know, oh my God, I was totally calm about it. I knew what had happened straight away. I had been drugged with scopolamine. I just knew exactly from the stories you hear, from the symptoms, from the fact that, I just literally couldn't remember anything for hours. You know what I mean? It was just, there's nothing else it could have been. So I was just really thankful. It was like, I just said to myself, like, totally fine, nothing happened to you, it's only money, we'll sort this out. And I knew I had a lot of stuff to do that day. So then I basically, with the credit card, then went into the city centre. First thing I did was bought myself a new phone, because obviously I knew I was going to have to, be in contact. And then I went to the bank. It was an absolute disgrace. This part here was obviously what I'm going to tell you now was definitely the lowest point. So I went into the bank, explained what had happened, and from the first moment, and even until now, months later, they haven't even said sorry in any way or apologized or offer any. So just for people that, I was initially trying to keep the name of the bank secret, because I wanted to sort of see if they were able to in any way atone for their error. This is Bank Colombia, the biggest bank. The biggest bank in the US, it's like basically like Bank of America, biggest bank in Colombia. And absolutely disgusting, my treatment that particular day. So I was there in no way to say, look, all I wanted at that stage is just to say, look, sir, sorry what's happened. We can't guarantee you're going to get your money back, but you have our full support. We are really sorry. That's just basic manners and basic customer service. So no, they said, oh, sorry, sir. Yeah, none of that. I was just like, oh, there's nothing we can do. If someone has used your bank with your PIN number, I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do. I was like, what? You can't do anything? What? Nope, nothing we can do. It was literally that cold and that direct. And I said, okay, well, at least, I need a new bank card, please. Can you give me a new bank card? And can you give me a summary of all of the transactions from the previous night? So I said, I didn't make any of these transactions. So start processing the new debit card. That is actually one of the really positive things in Colombia. It's amazing. Whenever you lose your debit card or your credit card, you just go there and they give it to you within minutes. It's incredible. Back home in Ireland, you have to wait for days, and they send it out in the post and blah blah blah. There, you just get it in the bank. But anyway, so I looked at my statement, and it says I had 40,000 pesos in my account. So I thought I had 40 million. So that I basically had a bit over $10,000. Turned out I had just over $10. So this was the moment. It was like,
Man, that feeling. Oh my God.
Oh yeah, it was that feeling. And I was like, head in hands. Because it's basically, you're losing. That was me losing all my life savings. Just like that. All of 10 years working hard as a teacher, gone in the blink of an eye. But again, I just sort of I got myself together. But there was of course I would say about 2 minutes where there was desperation. But I was like, okay, let's focus here. We need to focus here. I got stuff to do. This is not a time for feeling sorry for yourself. And so I said, okay, I need to go and speak to the bank manager. This is absolutely ridiculous. How the hell can this happen? There were in total there were 13 different transactions of 60 million pesos. Now the first ones were from ATM withdrawals, And that's not something that you can really trace. So I don't even blame the bank there. But there was this part of the night where they made 48 million pesos in 7 minutes in 8 different transactions.
How can you do that? Isn't there? I
Exactly.
mean, when I was there, there's a limit on how much you could take out the bank.
Yeah, exactly. So there was this a very bogus restaurant, of just this bogus restaurant. So obviously what they'd done is just use my card and, swiped it through all these times. So we're talking here in dollars. So we're talking about 12 to 15,000, about $12,000 that they took out in that short period of time. And it was just like, 9 million pesos, 7 million pesos, 8 million pesos, 9 million pesos again, just a boom, boom, boom. And there was obviously no stop done on this. And then there was another one about 25 minutes later for another 6.5 million pesos in a drugstore. So there's always these things, apart from the ATMs, there was this one restaurant, the vast majority, almost 50 million pesos was in this restaurant, and then these drugstores. So obviously what they'd done with the scopolamine, how they administered it, I'm not 100% sure, but obviously they'd used this. And the thing is, and for people to recognize, whenever you are under the influence of scopolamine, you are literally at the mercy of anyone. You will do anything that someone says. It's almost like you're hypnotized. Mm-hmm. Now, you have absolutely no recollection of what happens, but it is literally, so it actually comes from this really, really beautiful plant called burundanga. It grows in the streets, even in Bogota, it grows there, other parts of the country. And with the most minuscule amount of it, you're out and you are in control. You're the other person that uses this on you. If they say jump, you'll jump. If they say hello, you will do anything. And of course, it's literally the perfect drug, and it's used so commonly with really a relation to crimes in this matter, fraud, and also rape. It's quite similar to date rape and those type of things as well. Mm-hmm. So it's a very, very serious issue. And the only places that it really grows is Colombia and Ecuador. So obviously what has happened is, they've used the scopolamine on me, and just a few different scenarios, but the most likely is they've just said, okay, let's go to the bank, and you will go and you'll have a smile on your face. It's not like other ways of being drugged where you're totally, your head's down. And so to the passers-by, you will seem totally fine, and you will talk. I will be talking exactly like I'm talking now. So it's the perfect drug for this type of crime. So what's probably happened is they just said, let's go to the bank here. And they say, okay, what's your PIN number? And you will tell them everything that they want to know. So they don't even have to beat you up or anything. It's just perfect. So they've obviously, the first time or two, first or second time, they've just taken my card. And I have obviously no idea what happened after that. Did they just, I don't think they took me to all these establishments. They probably took me to the bank for the first couple of times and just took me, can you give us your card? Yeah. And then that was it. And God knows what happened after. Honestly, I will never, ever know. So that's basically what happened. I went to the police. It was absolutely, disgusting. The police, that was even worse than the bank. I went there with all of the information of exactly what had happened. They even had, of course, they knew who the person was. This person had been in the hotel. I had the details of the person because of what I said before. I asked her to send me her details in WhatsApp, so I had that. I had an image of the girl even in the hotel. I had evidence of all this fraud, everything going to I couldn't have given the police any more information. They said, oh, there's nothing we can do. You have to go to the Fiscalia. So the Fiscalia is basically a different branch of law and order in the government. So it's almost where you have
investigations or something.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, even though this happened, the police station 5 blocks from where this happened, they couldn't do anything apparently. So that was pretty much it. I cut my losses. There was nothing really much I could have done. That was my last day in Cartagena. Then got back to Cali, went to see the bank again, and I've been pursuing this ever since. Got no response at all from the cops.
So how much money was it total that you lost?
Basically almost 60 million pesos. So we're talking about $15,000, all of my life savings, just gone like that.
That's crazy.
So obviously I made an appeal to the bank, and this is Bank Colombia, and they responded to me a couple of weeks later saying that yes, it's clear, we know you have been a victim of fraud. Someone has used your card fraudulently. It was not you. We can confirm that. However, in this instance, the bank is not willing to offer any type of compensation. So there was always in the back of my mind, until I got that letter, the formal letter from the bank, there was always a part of me that thought, maybe I just was there and I was the one that made the transactions, because when you're under the influence of scopolamine, I would literally, that's something that people do. There's been stories of people, and I investigated so much after this happened. I investigated so much about it. And there's instances of people just literally going in with someone and giving them all their possessions from their apartment. Yeah. This is the type of things that happen. So I was always thinking, what if I actually myself, maybe I was but the bank even confirmed it. So I tried to follow that up with the school. So the school has this big contract with the bank. So they were trying to intervene. Nothing happened. So now I'm in this. I'm finally pursuing it with a lawyer. And within the next sort of few weeks, I'm going to have an out-of-court settlement, an out-of-court hearing. So it's not legal. The idea is to try and come to some type of agreement. But incredibly, this week, unbelievable, the Colombian Court of Law just passed. They just passed this, passed this law basically saying that banks can no longer in Colombia just say that it's not our responsibility.
I think I saw that story like a week ago.
Incredible. So I was like,
this has happened before. Yeah.
Great, So hopefully, I'm not, massively getting my hopes up anyway. If I get something back, it's a massive bonus. But I was like, yeah, that has to be, it definitely doesn't hinder my case in any way. So there is still hope. But I'd like to, to tell people as well, of course it was a terrible experience, don't get me wrong. And no one would ever want to experience something like I did, but I just made that, whenever I was in that bank, I just remember it very, very clearly. I made that, when I was in the bank and had those 2 minutes of go, oh my God, I said to myself, right, no, this is not going to define you as a person. I'm going to make this into a positive. And I definitely 100% without doubt can safely say that it has been a positive experience in my life, where I've made a lot of positive changes as a result. I've been able to share my story. I got so much positive response from people. It's been incredible. People sharing their stories, offering their, sharing their own stories as well. Hopefully, just by simply doing that, I've stopped a lot of people being more careful. At least one other person won't fall victim to this horrible crime, because it happens. It does happen quite regularly, unfortunately. And it's made me be a lot more cautious with my money. It's hard to say in life. Things were a mistake. Of course, that could have been avoided, but it's more in life anyway. It's how if that happens again, right? That's a terrible error of judgment and a mistake on my part. But the idea is to use something like that to make sure it never ever happens again. I've become a lot more aware of how to organize my finance. People say, "Oh, why didn't you do this with your bank?" I didn't even know. I was totally oblivious to all these ideas of how to manage your, different banks, and I have a thing here called a CDT, which is almost like you're a way of getting interest, and you put it. So for people out there as well, guys, don't trust banks anywhere in the world, and particularly your debit accounts. So one of the big positives, one of the many big positives I take it from the experience, is definitely, be careful with your money. Don't have everything. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Make sure to have them in various accounts. Now it's easy to say, don't bring your card out. I normally don't. It was just a fateful evening. I normally never travel out. I just bring out cash. That particular night, I didn't have enough cash at the hotel, really. So I was like, well, I'll bring out my card. It was a fateful night, but I wouldn't. In general, you try to avoid bring out your cash card. Yeah, of course. And really, how to avoid that? It's really.
Well, let me take a step back, because this is one thing. I was speaking with Rob. I told you I had a conversation with the owner of a business down there. He knows a few people that it's happened to. And he says, basically, it's the guys who start thinking that it was them who did something wrong. when in reality it's just the odds of luck that you ran into that person who was desperate at that time, who had that ability to do it. It wasn't something you slipped on. You did everything you were supposed to. From what I'm hearing, you did everything you were supposed to, and you stayed at a place that had a guard. I try to tell my viewers, make sure you stay at a place that has a guard that asks for IDs. You know, and I have a question for you too. Do you know if the ID was real that she showed?
It turned out. I think, yeah, it turned out because we were at the police station. The ID wasn't even the correct number, but still, yeah, I still had the ID. However, the name, okay, well, I completely forgot, you know, quite an important part of the story. The police showed me on a phone, said, "Is this the girl?" I said, "That's her, that's her." And one of them started bloody laughing at me, you know, like as if this was a big joke. This was a picture of this girl and another two girls in handcuffs with a face mask, which obviously shows that they've done this recently and gotten away with it. So there's so many layers to what happened in this. Possibly the street vendors, obviously this girl and her friend. I just think these girls anywhere that are the people at the bottom, you know, there's obviously an organization running this. The fact that, you know, this restaurant was involved, the drugstore, the cops.
Do you think the restaurants had a part in it?
Well, of course. I mean, how can you know, I joked, you know, I've always had this joke, you know, Cristiano Ronaldo wouldn't spend, you know, $50 million pesos, $15,000 in a restaurant in 8 minutes. You know, what can you spend? It should obviously 100% massive red flags from the bank, and just that they immediately freeze your card until you contact them. You know, these are the thing is, what is the number one thing a bank should do? Protect your money. Protect your money.
Well, you would figure they have we talked about this last night. We have a lot of fraud alerts here. Did you go to the restaurant and say, hey,
no, because you know, the thing is, the way it showed up in my account, it doesn't give you the exact address. I tried to look for it online, but there was no specific address. It says Restaurante Playa Bo, but you know, you type, because a lot of times, you know, whenever things pop up, it doesn't give you the exact address. It tells you the name of the establishment. But turns out, I couldn't find this place online or anything. So maybe it existed, maybe it didn't even exist, you know. But whatever happens, these people have got, you know, they've got the you know, the card machine, and you can't just get a card machine. That has
you have a merchant ID. At least here in the States, everything is recorded every time you swipe that because of PCI compliance.
So you can't just get that from any bank. So I mean, this is the reason why. And there's a lot of people I've been talked to, you know, who have worked in banks and stuff, said, I mean, there's very, very, very good chance that even the bank was in on this. And there's, you know, the people said, look, I've got this guy, and they've got, possibly even got this massive thing, this heist basically running all over the country. Who knows? And then they said, look, I've got this person, you know, don't do the security check. So yeah, I mean, I tried to be as careful as possible. You could always say, you know, people will say, okay, well, you should have known, shouldn't go out by yourself. But I mean, I was in a public place. I've gone out on dates with girls, you know, that I've just met at the beach or something, or girls you meet on Tinder or things like that. You know, I've done that in many parts of Colombia and other parts of the world, and nothing has ever happened in a negative way. So it's just one of those things that happened. Of course, it's taught me to be, I mean, I've always been vigilant. This is going to teach me to be extra vigilant at all times.
So if you had to pick, I mean, you don't remember what happened after that certain period of time. And from what I understand, it could be blown in the air. It could be put in someone's hair, and when you hug them, you get it, or something dropped in your drink. Did you have a drink, or how? If you
I had a drink.
Guess.
As soon as because whenever I arrived there, as I was saying, I sat down, got a couple of drinks for me and the girl. So it could have been there.
Outside or in a restaurant?
No, we were just sitting on a bench. So we were, as I said, in this really public place, outside where the clock is. Something I'd done many times before. It's just really, it's the place to go whenever the sun's going down. People just go there, have a drink, sit on the benches. It's a very common thing that tourists do. And so I was there, so just sitting on a street bench. So it could have definitely, could have potentially been from the drink. Could have been blown on me. Who knows? You know, there are different ways to administer this. The most common way that this is administered and that people fall victim to a scopolamine would be getting drugged getting spiked
In
basically
your drink, yeah.
in a club.
Did you?
And I think
How long were you around the second girl?
sorry,
How long were you around the second girl? How long before?
literally maximum 5 minutes, Rob. I honestly, it can't have been 5 minutes. I was just so crazy how it all just happened so quickly. You know, talking to this guy and boom, I just can't remember anything. Next thing I'm in a taxi. And the reason why I think for myself, you know, I said, you know, I really tried to try and turn this into a positive, and I've been sharing my story, using it to write, using it in my music and things like that. And it's just, you know, more than anything, it's just made me really, really reflect on my own life and how lucky I am that nothing happened. Because seriously, guys, you know, people that are victim to this, they don't recover mentally. Some people actually, and even worse, some people lose their lives. Some people, you know, they don't recover from the trauma. Some people will wake up in very strange places. So luckily I didn't suffer any trauma, and I'm totally sure that this has made me you know, a much stronger and mature person for it. Now I think the reason why it made it more easier for me to come to terms with is for different reasons. Number one, losing that money. Okay, I don't have a family or anything. That was money that I'd earned. Okay, it's a lot of money, but you know, nothing happened. It's money. Money can always be replaced. And the fact is, you know, that I wasn't really reckless. You know, I wasn't, let's say, really drunk coming out of a club at 3 a.m. or something. If something like that happened, there's no way I think I would be, you know, almost ashamed of what happened. Even though no one should be ashamed, because, you know, this type of thing, if you're a victim of a crime, you're a victim of a crime. At the end of the day, you know, now it's always easy for people to judge and point the finger and say, you know, you were stupid or you're silly, you let your guard down. But at the end of the day, no matter what happens in any situation, if you're a victim of a crime, you're a victim, and you know, it's very easy to go down that route, and it's my fault, you know. But I just said, I'm not going there. I'm not going there. And I would, if ever you're a victim of any terrible atrocity, you know, whether it be a crime or the most difficult, or the most important thing and the most difficult thing as well, is coming to terms, accept it happened, rather than, you know, things like this something like this could define you, or at least really affect you for a long time. But as I say, you know, I had all these things on my side. Sharing the story publicly actually was part of the healing process, even though, as I say, I didn't, honestly, there was no time where I was really almost felt depressed, you know. Honestly, it wasn't that. You know, I think as well, just the support network, obviously, with having family and friends, it's the foundation for anyone's mental health, really. And luckily, you know, I had a lot of support from people immediately. So that, like, all those factors really made it for me. Obviously, I'm not saying I wanted it to happen, because I know that would just be stupid. But I do think it was a positive experience, incredibly, you know, you know, quite a strange way. But
well, I do this channel and I do these videos to get to Colombia or travel anywhere really safely there and safely back. So this is a big part of it. And I do it for one person. I do these videos for one person, the one person that's going to get benefit out of it and possibly save their lives, save their finances, save their money, and just give them things. I mean, I did a video the other day on a wallet, on a type of wallet that clips inside your pants, just using money sacks, just things to help them out. So hearing this story, I think, is a good thing, because then they can see that it's not necessarily how prepared you think you are. You know, like Rob says, it's when you choose that person, it's already written. And he told me this, and I wanted to emphasize this. He says, as soon as somebody says, hey, you mind if my friend come over? Run. He said, literally run, because it could happen any second when somebody invites you over. He also said, and I want to reiterate this too, is if you cannot find this person the next day, you know what, you weren't introduced to her, you don't know where she works, you don't know where she goes to school. If you know that you cannot find this person the next day, she knows you can't find her the next day. And then it becomes, okay, now I think I got one on the hook, you know. So, but it's nothing, I don't think it's nothing that it's anything, no one did anything wrong. You didn't do anything wrong on your own. It's just sheer odds, you know, running into the wrong person at the wrong time, where she was desperate. And obviously now people are even more desperate, so they're willing to do things like that. But I commend you on not being upset because I'm gonna tell you, I would have lost it for a little bit of time. I still lose it, but I bring it down to a short period of time, and then I go like you. Okay, now how do I move forward? It's done. I can't change that. That's already reality. How do I make a change now? So I commend you on telling your story, number one, but just moving on with life, because that's how you got to do it and see the positives in it too, man.
100%, Rob. Yeah, I am. Yeah, I'm all about that, and I think that we seem like kindred spirits in that. You know, there's no point in being angry and bitter at any point. You know, with any person or anyone, not just something like this, just in general.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with your brother, you know, someone, your family, a friend, whatever. You know, staying with anger and hatred. You know, it's really bad for your mental and physical health.
Yeah.
Move on, accept it, be the bigger person. You know, and
yep.
Don't let grievances, don't let serious incidents, don't let them define you. Now, I know, as I say, it's very easy to say that, you know, in certain circumstances, I know things can be a lot more traumatic. But always try to move on. You know, there's too much hatred and negativity in the world right now. We don't need any more of it.
Exactly. One more question I had, I was just thinking, I wrote it down, forgot to ask you. You speak Spanish, number one. So you're fluent, you teach it. So obviously you're fluent. So when you walked in the bank, it's not like, just think if they're American and they don't speak any Spanish, which I'm going to guess 80% don't. They speak a little bit. Hola, ¿cómo está? That's about it. They're not fluent. They're not going to be able to articulate themselves in a bank. So just think, if you didn't even speak Spanish, how much more difficult it would have been.
Yeah, well, at least I knew where I stood very quickly. You know, at least I knew. But no, yeah, I started studying Spanish when I was 14. I think so. Over 20 years I've been speaking Spanish.
Oh, so that's got to be a big plus. So
definitely. I mean, you obviously, anywhere in the world, you know, if you can speak the language, it just makes it so much of a different, so much more of a rich experience. And the thing about Colombians as well, it's fantastic. You know, if you even try and make the effort to speak anything, you know, they'll really, really help. You know, everything's with a smile. You know, and yeah, one of the things I'd just like to say as well, guys, you know, please don't let something like this turn you off coming to Colombia, because despite what's happened, you know, it hasn't made me. I've been a victim of this crime. I've even been a victim of other crimes, but yes. you know, I still love living here. It's a massive part of my life, and that's not going to change. I just hope that, yeah, it's great that we have Rob here and myself, you know, trying to just more than anything give advice, because yeah, I mean, you always think it'll never happen to me. I was one of those people. I've heard about this sort of scopolamine. Never happened to me. You just never know what's around the corner. So just always, guys, please be as vigilant as possible, and you know, use these tips that we're giving you when you're coming to Colombia. But anyway, I mean, I'm going to leave my details and with Rob in the description, not just about my music, but if you have anything you want to know about Colombia or traveling, I'm very well traveled, fortunately, all around Latin America. I'd be more and more than willing to respond, guys. So you can contact me on Instagram or just by Gmail. Any questions, just have it all. I'd be more than willing to contact, to respond and help you guys out.
Excellent. Much appreciated. And I have people going all over Colombia too. Probably 80 to 90% are going to Medellin, probably 5% going to Bogota, 5 to Cali, and 5 to Cartagena probably. But I know I have a couple people who were on my live last night that are going to Cali. So they may even look you up when they get there. So
100%,
hey,
yeah, definitely, 100%.
Much appreciated. I really appreciate you sharing your story. I mean, guys need to hear it. You know, you knew about it and it happened to you. So what about people who aren't even aware of it? And I watch a lot of YouTubers and I don't see anybody bringing it up that much. I brought up pickpocketing and, you know, getting your phone taken from you and so on and getting your money taken out of your pocket. But this right here, I mean, that you will walk them in your apartment, in your hotel room. And if there's no guard, oh, yes, they got you. Oh, another quick one too. The cab driver, do you think he was involved? Or do you think he was drugged?
Yeah, I always try and think a bit more positive. There's two reasons. He could have almost been my savior, or he was in it. There's only those two. There's nowhere in the middle. Either he was my savior. I said, oh, look at this. This is a guy. There's nowhere. I need to get him home.
Yeah.
So I'm going to think, and hopefully say that that's what the taxi driver was. But there is a certain possibility, of course, that he may have been in on it as well. I'll never know. So there's no point in worrying about that either.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hey, again, I appreciate it so much. Thank you so much for coming on. My viewers are going to get a good deal out of this video right here. So Kevin's information will be below in the description. You want to listen to his music, you want to listen to my music. It's going to all be down in the description below. So hey, thank you for taking so much of your time on a Saturday morning. This is everybody's leisure time. So much appreciate you coming out and speaking to us. Thanks so much, Kevin.
Okay, Rob, thanks, man. It was an absolute pleasure. I really, I've been on a few shows, and this was certainly up there as one of the ones I've preferred doing. It's been an absolute pleasure. So thank you very much for inviting me on the show, and we will stay in contact anyway. Okay.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
All right. Have a great weekend. Anyway, everyone, take care. Bye bye.
Okay. You too. Take care, Kevin. Bye bye.
We have a YouTube channel. Like it.
Please comment and share if you like the video. Please subscribe and kick the bell.